So, like I was saying, um, it's we have to we have to change these ideas, these ideals, these perceptions. We have to, because if we don't, we run into some problems. We are going to run into problems. And believe, believe you me, we are already in problems, right? If you look at the world at large, you witnessing it, okay? The biblical passages highlights the situations and circumstances that exist today. It highlights it. It doesn't diminish it. It doesn't take away from it. It highlights it. But nobody, well, let me change that. Not nobody. Majority of people don't want to see it. I mean, you can listen to the news and listen to just open your ears and see how many people around you. See how many people around you are in tune with the idea that Bible talk about this, Bible talk about that. You know. Daniel talks about knowledge will increase and they'll go to and fro. Right? Talks about it. This is real. It is real. And if we don't see it as being real, if we don't see it as it being significant, if we keep taking it for granted, which is what we've been doing for eons of time. We've been taking it for granted, fighting wars and rumors of war. For what? Because we do not want to see it. We keep taking it for granted. Right? We have to understand that this is important. This is really, really important. And if I don't get the head screwed on properly, I'm gonna be in trouble, because my face is gonna be looking that way and my back of my head is gonna be looking this way. And I can't walk that way looking this way. I'm gonna run into the walls and stuff. Or I can't walk that way looking this way either. I have to make sure my head is on properly, my eyes is in the right direction, so that I could see better. I mean, it makes sense, right? So in Genesis 17, Abram was 99 years old, 17 and 1, and Jehovah appeared to Abram again. How many times now? He did it in, I think Terah started the whole thing, right? And then they went to Haran, they built a house, they lived there for some time. I think Terah died, and then God spoke to him then. Get up, go into same journey, same place you're going to. We didn't change that, okay? He got up, took his wife, Sarai, took Lot, right? All moved. Okay? And they moved into the land and walked all over the land and built an altar, right? Lot being prevalent there at the time, prevalent in the story at the time. Then they grow so wealthy, they were so blessed that they had to separate, which is, it's not a big deal. It's not abnormal. Separation is one of the ways God uses to cause spread, to spread things, right? if you want to expand your borders, you gotta create some separation. Okay? So he raised Lot up, you know. Lot took his stuff, went that way, got into some adversity, and we talked about that. And the brother in Abram reared up, went out there, helped him, brought him back, right? And so here we are in Genesis 19. So that was, he talked to him in 12, a couple times, I think, maybe in 15, when he went to Amalek, I think. And you know, he told Sarah, hey, tell them I'm your brother. You know, Amalek spoke to God spoke to Amalek, revealed himself to him. Remember that. So God has been revealing himself to Abram a few times, right? And including this time here in Genesis 17. Abram was 99 years old, almost 100 years old. I can't even understand that, because I'm not 99. So, you know, how, you know what I'm saying? How does it feel to be 99? I don't know. God appears to him, told him, I am Elohim Almighty. Walk before me and be blameless. But I thought he was doing that all along. So this is not Abram's first kind of go around. He built altars before and all that stuff, right? But this is God just reiterating what he wants from Abram. You know, whenever I come to you and I tell you who I am, I want to reiterate what I want from you. Walk before me and be blameless. And then he regurgitates some of the covenantal things. I will make my covenant between you and me, between me and you, and multiply you exceedingly, and so on. Abram fell on his face in an act of worship, right? That's what you do. When you meet somebody of great stature, right? And they make all these declarations, I don't know. Do I know what it feels like to be in the presence of God? I have ideas. I've been in God's presence a few times, so I have ideas. I'm in this case, maybe he fell on his face because he was overpowered, right? By emotion or whatever, what have you, right? Because it can get that deep, right, guys? So Abram fell on his face, and God continued to talk to him. As for me, behold, my covenant is with you. You will be a father of a multitude of nations. Again, we hear that word, nations. Again, I want to reiterate to us. When we hear the word nations, I don't want us to think about land or land masses or continents, right? I want us to think about people. People. I will make you a father of a multitude of, really, it should be people. And now he goes on to say, your name will no more be called Abram, but your name will be Abraham. I don't want to go into the whole changing of the name thing. That's for a different time. Right? And he said, I changed the name because now I have made you a father of a multitude of people. So before, he was a great father, which he is proved through his relationship with Lot, right? And probably was among the family. If you think about, if you just entertain the idea that he had brothers, doesn't say if he was the oldest brother or the youngest brother. That's neither here nor there. But he was an example among the brothers, right? just by the fact that he had that name, right? Just by the way he engaged and just his relationship that he had with Lot, that in itself, made him a father more than anything else, even though he himself wasn't physically, didn't have any blood children per se, right? Any kids from his loins per se, right? But that attitude, the mentality, the ideology, the idea, the philosophy, the heart, everything about being a father, it was already in him, right? So he said, I will make you exceedingly fruitful, verse 6, and I will make nations or peoples of you. In other words, I'm going to take this mold that is Abram. I've remade the mold, the potter, if you will. I'm the potter, you're the clay. I remade this clay from Abram to Abraham. And now you are Abraham. You're going to be a father of many peoples. You're going to be a father of a multitude of people. Right? Multiply and fill the earth. Remember Genesis 1, 26, 27, 28? Okay? So, all of this is things that God has already done. It's just redo, if you will, using Abraham. He tried it, Adam, okay. That didn't go too thing. Noah, okay. That was a little, yeah. Okay, Abraham, here comes your turn. You see what I'm saying? Well, don't think about Enoch, because he took Enoch. He didn't give Enoch a chance. He's like, no, I'm going to take you. I'm taking you. Which, I talked about. I love that story. Even though it's a short story. Kings will come out of you, right? This and then again, we don't understand. Humanity have yet to understand the real idea of the real principle of a king. We don't really, we don't really have that concept fully ingrained in our minds. You know what I'm saying? King is just not an ordinary person. You see what I'm saying? A real king, a true king, that is. And hopefully one day I'll do a teaching on that, but not today. He says, verse 7, I will establish my covenant between me and you and your offspring after you throughout their generation for an everlasting covenant. Again, forever, right? You come across this word, everlasting, forever and ever. And again, we just read it and skim over it. We got to get the essence of that word. Okay, and everlasting is not bound by time or space or months or years or generations. Everlasting is exactly what that says. It lasts forever. Time is not involved. Days, months, minutes, hours, seconds, those things are null and void in the forever space. Okay? And we have to try to get a real grasp on that, because we are constantly being bombarded by time and space, by things that bind us to time and space, by thoughts and ideas and ideologies that bind us to time and space, when that's not how we were created. And we were, as I've said before, we were created to live without time and space. We were created to live forever, right? And because forever doesn't contain time and space and hours and days and minutes and months and years, those things, when forever come, when that time comes for us to be in forever, time will disappear. You see what I'm saying? So he said, for an everlasting covenant. And here's one of the key to this covenant. Is he didn't just make a covenant with Abraham about the land, okay? The covenant is not just, I'm going to give you that piece of land and that's going to be it. You're going to move in there. You're going to live there forever and ever, and that's it. That's part of the covenant. The real crux of the covenant there is, because remember, who were in the land, what they were doing in the land was the Canaanites, Perizzites, Hittites, whatever, Amorites. And they were living idolatrous. They were doing whatever they wanted to do. They were having a blast in their own way. That wouldn't cut it for God. So God said, I'm going to bring you in, Abraham. I'm going to cast them out, right? If we go into Levitical laws, if we go into Deuteronomy and so on, we see where God said that because of the wickedness of the people of the land itself was kicking them out. The land was spewing them out. The land itself, okay? And he talks about that. The land itself. When you don't live in a righteous manner, when the people don't live in an upright manner, they spoil the very land itself. The creation becomes decayed and decaying. And as a result, creation turns against humanity, if you will. Right? What did Romans 8 say? That all of creation eagerly awaits the revelation, the manifestation, the outward expression of the sons of God. It eagerly awaits all of creation. The earth, the wind, the stars, the moon, everybody, right? If the trees could talk, the trees would say, I'm waiting to see a son of God appear. That's what I'm waiting for. Because right now, I'm dying. The key component of this covenant, God is the one who is instituting this covenant, not man. Right? Because we're not in charge. You understand? We are not in charge. So we can't institute anything. He is the one who is instituting things because he is boss. I ain't trying to put us down, but I'm just saying to us, we got to understand these things. He is the one instituted the covenant. The covenant is between him, then us. And part of the covenant is, I'm going to give you this land. Your name is going to be great. You're going to have people all over the world. All the world is going to be your children. The world is your playground. You will be like Mr. Smith. It's mine, it's mine, it's mine, all mine. Right? Verse 7. I will establish my covenant between me and you and your offspring after you throughout their generations for an everlasting covenant, right? To be a God. And this is just, in our version, it says to be God, right? And I don't think that God is saying, I want to be a God to you. Because God saying being a God is kind of putting the idea that, a God. is like a God among other gods, right? But he is the only God, the only wise God, to whom belong power and glory, wisdom and honor forever, right? So it's to be God to you, right? And to your offspring after you. To be your God, to be God to you, or to be your God. In other words, the covenant that God is making with Abram is this. Abram, this is what I want to do for you. Okay? Because I like you, because you have everything that epitomizes me. You manifest it in your life, in the way you live. And I love that. So I chose you, and I want to make you the mold of what I want in the earth. Right? And I want to be God to you, and I want you to be my people. In other words, I am telling you, if you make me your God, if you choose me, I've already chosen you, right? Remember Yeshua said in the gospel, I'm telling you, we can't, listen, let me just go off on a tangent here, right? My umpteen tangent. When you really begin to see things in godlike ways, and by that, I'm not putting myself up, but when you strive to see things through his eyes, right? That's the godlike way, the godlike manner. I want to see God. You said this. What's in your mind and in your heart? You know, that out comes these words. The more you begin to gravitate to those things, the more you begin to gravitate to that kind of mentality and that kind of thinking, is the more phenomenal. You could just read one sentence, one line, one verse in the Bible, and it will just blow you out of the water. You wouldn't be able to read another verse. And it's happened to me time and time again. I'll just read one line and close, because this one line, it will just flood my mind and my heart with all kinds of thoughts and other lines that I've heard and read and thought about, and everything will just come together in a big sea of ideas and ideologies, and it will be so marvelous that I can't focus on that one line. Beyond that one line, I had to close the book and just try to put everything in perspective. That's how awesome our God is. See, I've already chosen you, Abram. I've already decided that I'm going to be in covenant with you. I'm going to do all these things with you and for you. And the other thing that is going to happen is, what I really want is for you to see all these things that I want to do for you, and for you to use your own volition, use your own will and your own heart and your own mind, and choose me. Right? And when you do that, when you choose me, and you choose me to be your God, that is going to set you off. That is going to put you in a place of being untouchable in terms of the blessings that is going to come your way. Because I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. Man, you are going to be the hinge. You are going to be the focal point. You are going to be the target for so much or of so much that everybody will want to glean from you. Everybody will want to hold on to the hem of your garment, if you will. You're listening. I hope you're listening. I will give to you, verse 8, and to your offspring after you, the land that you are traveling, all the land of Canaan, for on, here's the word again, everlasting possession. Okay? And I will be their Elohim. I want to be your Elohim, but your seed and your people and all those multitudes that I've promised to you, I will be their God also. Right? But they, because of you, because of what I'm going to do with you, you will be like a benchmark, and everybody will want to hold on to you. And as a result of everybody's holding on to you, they should want to hold on to me. And as a result, it's just going to be a, what we call it, that effect, snowball effect, just rolling down this side of the mountain, and just, oh man, not just building in speed and momentum, but in size and vision and growth. In verse 9, God said to Abram, as for you, you shall keep my covenant, you and your offspring after you, throughout their generations. This is my covenant which you shall keep between me and your offspring after you. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You shall be circumcised in your flesh of their foreskin. It will be a token of the covenant between me and you. Right? And he goes on and on and on. We know this story, right? And why I'm going over this story is to give you, to talk about the knowledge of the Father, the wealth of knowledge that is contained within the Father, which is supposed to be within every father, right? After all, the topic is Father knows best, right? And so, because a father knows best, he sees furthest, he knows more, he sees more, there's so much more can happen in his vision, if you will, or with his vision, if you will. And you might be a father, and again I say a mother also, and you have kids, and you have to be able to see beyond the lifespan of your kids. You have to be able to see the life of your child in beyond years. You have to be able to prophesy, if you will, to your children. You have to be able to say things to them that they in no way could see or will see, only after a matter of time, only after a period of time, right? You have to be able to instill those things in them and talk to them and give them the confidence that you know what you're saying because you know what you are seeing. See, this is the kind of confidence that the Father is instilling in this conversation with Abraham. Just continually talking to him, telling him, hey, this is my covenant. This is what I'm going to do. This is what you need to do. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. It's, in this conversation, you could almost see just in the conversation, Abram's confidence, his will to be obedient, his desire to be obedient, his 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 fortitude to be obedient is being grown exponentially. It's been boosted. He's getting boost upon boost upon boost, because Abraham also understands some things. Okay, he understands some things, and he says in verse 16, this is God, just tell him about himself and talk about his wife, change his wife's name. And then he says, I will bless her, and moreover, I will give you a son by her. So after all this boasting and telling all these wonderful, I want you to be there. I want you to imagine. You know something about yourself that you cannot produce. You know it. But you are in this conversation with this entity who is swelling your head with ideas. But the bottom line is, you know what you know. And what you know, nobody could really take it from you. And God doesn't want to take it from you. God wants, if you know that, and you know it, guess who knew it before you knew it? God did, right? Because he's Father. And because God knows everything, if you are tuned into what you know, and what you know is true, and what God knows is always true, but you're in tune with what you know, and you've been groomed and built into this mold that you know. Wait a second, I can't do this. What the heck is he talking about, bro? Yeah, it sounds awesome. See, Abram, in this case, is listening. And as we know, what is being said sounds awesome. But there's some things Abraham knows. And there's some things that he's not letting go, because he knows them. And he knows that it is true. It's not a lie. And that's the thing we have to be able to confront in these moments. We have to see, we're taught to set them aside. And don't look at that. Don't look at your shortcoming. No. Here, Abraham talking to God, and it's easy for Abraham to not even think about that. It's easy for him to hear all this stuff and be like, you know what? Yeah, I agree with that. But when you know the truth, guess what? The truth is what will set you free. And at some point, you have to be able to communicate that truth. Not that you don't believe what you are hearing in relation to what you know, but that what you know cannot be extracted from you, because it is true. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but I hope you do. See, we are taught not to look at that um, weakness or flaw, or in Abraham's case, you know what I'm talking about. We are taught, right? Oh no, if you don't hold on to this, that means you don't believe what God is saying. No, 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 no. You have got to be able to stand in the middle of the scale and be like, okay, I'm hearing all this stuff, God, but this is the truth right here. You know that, and I know that. What am I talking about? Let's read. Verse 17. Abram fell on his face and laughed and said in his heart. See, because out of the heart, the mouth speaks. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. It's in the heart is where the issues of life is. So, what's in your heart it's going to come to the forefront. It's going to be in the forefront of your life. What's in your heart? That's where the real issue is. And if you are not wanting to confront that, if you are not wanting to look at what's in your heart, and I venture to say that most times people don't want to look at what's in their heart, but what's in their heart come out in that space right here that we call the mouth. And they think nobody don't know, but you just talk to them and you hear all the stuff that's in their heart. See, Abraham is listening to God, and he's hearing all these awesome things. I'm going to make you a father of many nations, and this and that, and I'll bless you in 15, I'll bless you, and I'll bless those who bless you, and all these phenomenal, fantastic things. So awesome. But Abraham knows in his heart, in this case, he's 99 years old. In the previous cases, I think the first case he was 75. Abraham knows in his dad's house, when he was living with his dad, he didn't have a child. His dad died, he moved to Canaan, he didn't have a child. All these years, he doing his thing with Sarai, nothing. This is years, okay? Nothing going on. This is nothing going on. It's like, okay, God, this thing sounds awesome. Excuse me, sir. Sir, excuse me, but there's just one little but. And the butt is getting ready to spill. Right? The butt is getting ready to spill. He fell on his face and he laughed. Well, people say, why did he laugh? Well, because, like I said, 75, 85, 95, 99. I'm going to laugh. I might probably do the same thing. Like, yeah, right. Okay. That's all well and good. Sounds awesome. Wonderful. And you might want to ridicule me. Well, you don't sound like you got faith. And no, see, hindsight is 2020, right? Because we know the story, we think that when we say, oh, when you hear stuff, you just believe, and blah, blah, blah. And we say those things because we puffed up in pride. But if you put yourself in that mold, you know you sick, you know you suffering, you are in the pot and the pot is hot, all the water is boiling around you. You know that. See, that's a different kettle of fish right there. That's why with Job and his friends decided, oh, no, 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 we're not going to stand off and make a judgment against our brother, our friend. We're going to go in the pot with him. Even though they're really still not technically in the pot, because ain't nothing happening to them and their family. Right? Everything happened to Job and his family. But the idea, the mentality, the psychology, the fact is they want to be in his shoes or get as close to his shoes as possible. So they go sit with him and they didn't say a word for all the days that they were there. See, they wanted him to know, we here with you, bro. We are here with you. And so Abram laughed because he in the pot and the water is boiling around him, not you and me. And then he says, as a matter of fact, the biblical passage says he said in his heart. So it's interesting that the narrators, the biblical writers here, wrote what he said in his heart, because typically you don't know what somebody says in their heart unless you interpret their action. If they don't say anything, right, chances are they did something. And the doing of that thing, you can translate the action into words. Think about that for a second. Because the narrator here says, Abram fell on his face and laughed and said in his heart, will a child be born to him that is 100 years old? Will Sarah, who is 99 years old, give birth? Now, did he really say that? Or did the interpreter, did the writer, did the translator get that impression based off of the fact that he fell on his face and laughed? See? We read it and we figure he said it. But did he literally say those words? Or were those the words of somebody who interpreted Abram's action? Two different things. But how important is that? It's not really, really important. Here's what's most important. Abram did not negate the truth about his condition. Okay? Abram did not negate the truth about his condition. He heard everything that was said. He weighed it against his condition. Right? Knowing his condition, he then said to God, in a rational way, in a human way, okay, I know I'm old, I can't have children. I know my wife is old. She can have children. Maybe, just perhaps, maybe, God is looking at Ishmael, right? Okay. May Ishmael live before you. In the beginning, God goes to him and God says, I am God Almighty. Walk before me and be blameless. Okay, God, I hear all the stuff you said. May Ishmael walk before you and be blameless. You understand? Abraham is not saying, I don't believe you. Abraham is saying, I hear what you're saying. Ishmael is the one. May Ishmael walk before you. May he be deserved of inheriting this promise. Okay? Because he knows. He knows. He knows. God said, no. Verse 18. No, sorry, verse 19. No, but Sarah, your wife, will bear you a son. You shall call his name Isaac. Why? Because one thing I want you to understand, Mr. Abram. That's why when I come to you, I announce myself. I use these words. I am God Almighty. See, you forgot that I said that I am God Almighty. You forgot I announce myself. You forget who you're talking to. And I get it. I know your condition. I'm glad that you're not one of them proud, pious people who be like, yeah, okay, God, I believe you. No, you recognize your own frailties, or your own lack, and you own up to that lack. And I like that. See, that's one of the reasons why I like you, because you're not prideful in anything. No, but Sarah, your wife, will bear you a son. You shall call his name Isaac. Laughter. I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant for his offspring after him. Okay? Guess what? As for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him and will make him fruitful. So Ishmael, listen. See, those are things we don't discuss. What about Ishmael? Ishmael is in the covenant too. Is he in the covenant, or does he have a covenant? As for Ishmael, I hear you. That's your son, and you love him just like I love you. See, we have to understand this, the father, this mentality. It's awesome in the mentality we ought to have as fathers. We cannot neglect those who are part of us. I heard you about Ishmael. I have already blessed him and will make him fruitful and will multiply him exceedingly. He will be the father of 12 princes, not a multitude, 12 princes, and I will make him a great people. But, and that doesn't mean to neglect anything I've just said. That's not what but means here. But here means, in addition, I will, but, or nonetheless, I told you what I'm doing with Ishmael. I told you what I'm doing with Isaac. Nonetheless, my covenant, the thing that I'm focused on as far as what I'm doing with you and your seed and so on and so on and so on, that is flowing Isaac way. Isaac. Okay? From you, Isaac. From you, Isaac. Ishmael, yeah, I'll take care of him. Don't worry. I got you with that. Okay? Is there a relationship here? Is there something here that we have been neglecting for generations? I think so. Because Isaac and Ishmael are brothers. Half brothers. One is a certain way, like a prodigal. The other one is a way like the homegrown son. Okay? But there's something there. I'm not going to get into that. Okay? Remember, I said, we have to look at the father, the mentality of the father. We have to look at the role. We have to look at the function. We have to look at the ideas and the ideology. Why is a father, why does he think a certain way? There's something about being a father. I tell my kids all the time, right? When they were growing up, I would talk to them constantly about all kinds of stuff, right? I'm the type of father that I would engage in any conversation with my kids. Didn't matter, what is sex, money, women, girls, what have you. It didn't matter because I felt that my input was important, is important in whatever they wanted to talk about. The thing that I had to say, and the input I would reference and draw and try to infuse was not just my personal input, but was biblical, was upright, was righteous, was godly in those things, right? So there was no fear in me to have any conversation with them whatsoever, which is how it's supposed to be. A father doesn't run away from having a conversation with his son, regardless of what the son wants to talk about, or regardless of what the father feels is necessary to talk about. I remember one year, I was going to rented a vehicle. I was going to North Carolina to visit my best friend, and it was me and my two boys, and it was just three of us. Mom was staying home. It was just me and the boys. And I rented a vehicle, and we were rolling. And when we left, I told the boys, I said, listen, it's just us here. Mom is not here. We have no girls around. We could talk whatever y'all want to talk about. What y'all want to talk about? Girls, sex, what? Money, whatever. See, a father has to be open to talk to his kids and be truthful with his kids. Not just go along with something they say because they like it. Not just agree to anything they say because they're your kids and you don't want to hurt their feelings, or you don't want to mess up with their, with their dreams, and all this stuff that we philosophize and get into all of that kind of stuff. I ain't interested in none of that. I'm interested in talking about the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. So That's how I was then. That's how I am today. I'm still the same way. And so, looking at Abram from the father perspective, from that kind of character perspective of a father, you figure, okay, I hear what you're saying, God, but still, Ishmael is my son, right? But still, what about Ishmael? What, the movie, What About Bob? Mom, what about Bob? Everybody was concerned about Bob. Bob used to do all kinds of stuff. But the overriding question was always, what about Bob? God, what about Bob? And the key thing about Bob may or may not necessarily be about Bob. It may be more about, what about Isaac? And what influence, or what kind of influence, or what kind of character, personality, what kind of uprightness, godly influence, and affluence does Isaac develop that would be an example for Ishmael? Because here we have two dynamics in play. Isaac was a man of the tents, like his father. He was a shepherd, right? Took care of things. Ishmael was a wild man. Those two descriptions of who they were, we have to pay a lot of attention to that. What does that mean? Ishmael is a wild man. He's just out there doing all kinds of reckless stuff. You know, the story of him messing around with Isaac. If we get into that, we find out all kinds of, we're like, what? Is that he was doing? Yeah, we get into all kinds of things. We know he's a wild man. We know he probably is more unrighteous than anything else. We understand that. What burden, if you will, what does that leave Isaac to do? Right? And if we go further into the story, we know what happens. We know what happens with Isaac and Ishmael. Right? We know Isaac will listen to his parents and be obedient. And we know Ishmael is kind of the opposite of that. And in most cases, we sideswipe Ishmael because of that. But what part does Isaac play in this relationship with Ishmael? What does Isaac do? The question, what can Brown do for you? And what can Isaac do for Ishmael? And maybe perhaps the biggest thing that Isaac could do for Ishmael is to love him, to be a father type personality to him, to love him, to have open arms, to embrace him, to be merciful, to be kind, to be thoughtful, to be all those things that a father gives, and a father is, and a father does. Because it's important. Maybe that's the only thing. Abram did it for Lot. Right? Abram showed his character in his relationship with Lot. Even to risk his life and the life of 318 of his men to go rescue Lot, because Lot means something to him. Lot is important to him. The bond, the relationship they have is greater than anything. Who speaks like that? Do you know anybody? Do you know anybody who cries out those things? Who emanates these characteristic personalities? Do you know anybody who speaks like that? You sure? Do you know? Have you read anything that he has spoken about being that kind of person? About loving loving those who hate you and persecute you. Who speaks like that? In the instance, we know is Yeshua, who is the Son, but the Son is repeating what the Father says. So it's important for us to understand. Father knows best. Father's supposed to know all. The Son is supposed to be just like the Father. Supposed to be in the same vein. That's the design. That's the creation of God. That is the design right there. It's not about you. It's like what's the movie? What's the movie? Doctor Strange. It's not about you, Doctor Strange. It's not about you. But yet it is about you. And that's why we have to get this idea that the Father is the Son. The Son is the Father. The two are one. They're one and the same because that's the design. And it may not be written plainly in Genesis 1, 26, 27, and 28, but it is there. It is there. If we could open our eyes and look through his, what is he doing? What is he doing making a man like us? Making a man in his image. In his image he created he him. Male and female he created he them. What is that all about? All this fancy language. Simply put, I made human beings in my image. So even though I am not a human being, because God is not a man, right? God is a spirit, and they who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. But I made a human being and fashioned them in my character, with my traits, with everything about me in them, and everything about them in them. And that's what I call my creation in my image. And now I say to my creation made in my image, multiply, fill the earth, have dominion, take charge. So when I do go forth and multiply, what am I bringing into the earth? My children? People in my image and my likeness? I wasn't made in my image and likeness. So how can I give birth to something in my image and my likeness? I was made in his. So I, being made in his, have to now procreate beings made in his. It's about him. It's not about me. Get it? Abram somehow understood that. Because as far as Abram was concerned, it was about God. It was about God. It's what about he wanted. And so when he fell on his face and he laughed, he understood that I couldn't have children. I'm old. My wife was worse because she couldn't have children before she was old. Right? That's why she told Hagar, go with him. And that's how Ishmael came to be. Okay. Abraham knew it's not about me. And putting himself in this mind of God, it's got to be Isaac. Only thing you say, it's got to be Isaac. Only to find out, wait a second, it's not Isaac, sorry, Ishmael. Wait a second, not even Ishmael. It's about me, but not about me. So when he said, yeah, I'll make you, you will be the father, but it's still not about you per se. It's about all the character and personality of you, that you, on your own, if I could even say that, because I don't think he's doing it on his own. I think he's doing it because that's just who he is, made of God. And we'll go and we'll read that passage in Genesis 18. But I just wanted to finish up in 17 here, where he says, okay, it's Ishmael. And God had to come back and say, no, it's not even Ishmael. Yeah, I hear you with Ishmael. I'll take care of that. You know, this is what's going to happen to him. Because remember, Abram, whose name is now Abraham, in 17 and 24, he was 99 years old when he was circumcised in his flesh. He was an old man. Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised in his flesh. So if you roll back the tape, he said, this is my everlasting covenant. You shall be circumcised in your foreskin of your flesh. So the covenant of circumcision still in play. Yeah. We're not going to go into that. Don't get mad. Listen, don't get upset. I'm just saying what is written. Okay? Listen. Because if it wasn't important, Abraham wouldn't circumcise Ishmael. Right? But he told Abraham in verse 10, this is my covenant, which you shall keep. Listen. Between me and you and your offspring after you. Your offspring after you. What's the covenant? Every male among you shall be circumcised. You shall circumcise in the flesh of your foreskin. It will be a token of the covenant between me and you. It will be a token. Like I want to catch the train, so I put a token in the turnstile, freeze up, and I push it and I get in on the train. It's a token. Okay? So, here's the thing. We in this 20th century mindset, this 19th century mindset, or whenever that mindset started, in the Paul mindset, you know, circumcision doesn't matter or not. Circumcision is important. It is important. Again, I'm not here to argue. I'm just telling you. what is written. So don't argue with me. Is what is written. Paul didn't die for me. Did he die for you? Did Paul die for you? Because Yeshua said, I didn't come to destroy the law. I came to perform the law. I came to fulfill it, I came to build a house. So when I build a house, or you could just come and destroy the house. You can't destroy the house. The house is built. I've established the house, which he's established before the foundations of the world, as far as Revelation says. So, what part of the house is no longer void, no longer a thing? I don't know. But that's what we've been taught. And most of us believe it, and most of us still run with it. But I'm not here to argue that. Says, this is my covenant which you shall keep between me and you and your offspring after you. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You shall circumcise in the flesh of a foreskin. It will be a token of the covenant between me and you. Right? He who is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you. Every male throughout your generations. Throughout your generations. Throughout your generations. He who is born in your house, as one kind of male, born in your house. That means you have servants, and the servants get pregnant, and they deliver babies in your house. That's yours. You have to circumcise him. Okay? He's part of the covenant. If you circumcise him, yes, I'll bring it. He's a token you could get on the train. Just saying. Or you buy with money, you buy children, which they used to do back in those days. Any foreigner who is not of your offspring. So there are people in categories here, people. People in categories. Listen, there are people who God has in categories who are eligible for this covenant. There are people who fall in the whosoever believes. You know that verse, right? John 3:16. Whosoever. Okay? If you believe, you bam. Get your token and keep believing and keep obeying and keep doing. Because guess what? You will be on the train. You on the train. You going. You don't have to be born Jewish or born Israelite, all that kind of stuff. See, that's another teaching. Who is Israel? Who is Israel? There's a teaching where it's left, right side. Who is Israel? Who is Israel? Israel is both a man and a people and a country. Well, three. That's three, right? I said both, but it's three. Israel is three entities. Israel is a person, as in a man. Israel is a people, as in multiple human beings. And Israel is a country, as in a landmass. Those three entities is what Israel is. See, it ain't saying nothing about Christian. It ain't saying nothing about Christian. The biblical narrative speaks to Israel, sons of Jacob. Jacob, who is the son of Isaac. Isaac, who is the son of Abraham. Okay? If you go all the way down, come to Yeshua, who is the son of David, who is the son of Isaac, who is the son of Jacob, all the way back. Yeah. So you don't have to count no. Listen, that's the reason why they call him Father Abraham. He mightn't be Yeshua, but he's up in there. I'll just leave that as that. Listen. Verse 13. He who is born in your house and he who is bought with your money must be circumcised. It doesn't end there. Doesn't end there. Hold up. My covenant shall be in your flesh. Did you hear that? My covenant shall be in your flesh. For how long? Till Yeshua comes? Nope. It doesn't say that. For an everlasting covenant. Did you hear that? My covenant. Whose covenant is it? Paul's? Whose covenant is it? Keith's? Whose covenant is it? Church of God in Christ? Church of many doctrines, denominations? Whose covenant is it? Church of Paul the Apostle and the 12 apostles. Church of Peter, Church of John, Andrew, Barnabas. Whose covenant is it? My covenant. Genesis 17, verse 13. My covenant, last line. My covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. What does everlasting mean, people? I listen. I'm just reading to you what is written. The uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, that soul, that person shall be cut off from his people. He, that person, has broken my covenant. I'm just saying, this is what he says. You're not arguing with me. I'm not arguing with you. God spoke to Abraham. Abraham laid his case out. God said, no, this is how it's going to be. Okay? I heard you, but Ishmael. Abraham went, he did his stuff. Okay? 26, Genesis 17 and 26. In the same day, both Abraham and Ishmael, his son, was circumcised. All the men of his house, those born in his house, those bought with the money from a foreigner, were circumcised with him. This is Genesis 17. Genesis 18. Jehovah appeared to Abram in the oak by the oaks of Mamre. He sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. It's a typical thing. This is a lifestyle of Abram. He does this a lot. This speaks to character. This speaks to a personality type, if you will. He lifted up his eyes and looked and saw three men stood near him. When he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, bowed himself down to the earth. I'm going to skip through some verses because I want to make this point. Verse 6, Abram hurried into the tent to Sarah and said, quickly, prepare 3 seeds of fine meal, knead it and make cakes. Abram ran to the herd, fetched a tender, good calf, gave it to the servant. He hurried to dress it. He took butter, milk, and the calf, which he dressed, set it before them. He stood by them under the tree. How long do you think that took? How long does it take to kill a calf? make butter from milk, and all that kind of stuff. Prepare all. How long is that? 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours? I don't know. But this is what he did. Okay? He asked them. They asked him, verse 9. Where is Sarah, your wife? He said, there in the tent. He said, 10. I will certainly return to you at about this time next year, and behold, Sarah, your wife, shall have a son. Sarah heard it. She laughed. Okay? Now, skip through that. Verse 13. Jehovah said to Abram, why did Sarah laugh? You laugh, she laughed. What do you think? I'm a joke? He didn't say that, obviously, but I thought that sounded funny. Anyway. Yeah, why did Sarah laugh, saying, will I really bear a child when I'm old? See, he heard her. God, he knows everything. Why? He is Father. Father knows best. He knows everything. He hears everything. And nothing goes by without him being in attention. Okay? Is anything too hard for Jehovah? At the set time, I will return to you. Sarah denied it, saying, I didn't laugh, for she was afraid. No, but you did laugh. Okay? I'm going to skip down. Verse 17, right? We get ready to close, so we get into verse 17. Jehovah said, the men, after the conversation, they got up and was walking away. Abraham got up, was kind of seeing them out the front door, kind of seeing them out. Jehovah said, verse 17, will I hide? I want you to hear these words. Will I hide from Abraham what I do? Or what I'm going to do? Right? Because he was getting ready to do some stuff. And he said, will I hide from Abraham what I'm getting ready to do? Since, this is God speaking, Father knows best, Father knows all, since Abraham shall surely become a great nation, because I said it, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed in him, because I said it, because I have known him to the end that he may command his children and his household after him, that they may keep the way of Jehovah to do righteousness and justice, to the end that Jehovah may bring on Abraham that which he had spoken of him. So, in closing, God says, I knew Abraham from the get-go because this is his character. He will command, listen, do not wipe this off of your brain. Keep it on the forefront of your brain. These words. Father knows best. Father knows all. Father knows you and me and everybody else, even if they don't believe it. He knows that Abraham will command his children, and not just his children, but including his household. Abraham sits up here being in charge of his household and his children, and he is going to command them that they will keep the way of Jehovah. To do righteousness and justice. You think Lot wasn't a part of that? You think he didn't instill in Lot to do righteousness and justice? You think Lot you still think Lot is unrighteous, man? I beg to differ. This man, God has said, I chose him because I know him. And this is his character. He commands his children and his household to follow my way. Not his way, my way. When we get that through our thick skull, that's when we'll be walking the way of Abraham. Or as God put it, walk before me and be blameless. When we get that mindset, that I have to be so responsible to display my actions and activities and words and my teachings in such a manner that all who is around me will know it's not about me. It's about the Father. It's not about me. It's about Father. It's about He. It's about His way. It's about His command. It's about His righteousness. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness. We have to continue this next time. Go with me to Numbers chapter 6, where we started off, verse 22 through 27, which reads as follows. Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Aaron and to his son, saying, This is how you shall bless the children of Israel. You shall tell them, Jehovah bless you and keep you. Jehovah make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. Jehovah lift up his countenance towards you and give you peace. So they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Until next time, Shavua Tov, Shabbat Shalom, Shalom, Adios, Bonne Nuit, Arrivederci, peace, bye, buenos dias, buenas tardes, buenas noches, adios, love you all, deuces.